Ichigo Kurosaki continues his fight with the Privaran Espada Dordoni Alessandro del Soccaccio, and Dordoni easily overpowers Ichigo, leading him to demand that Ichigo use his Bankai. Ichigo refuses and Dordoni uses a Sero blast in response. Neliel 2 Odelschwank blocks the blast by swallowing it and fires it back at Dordoni. When Dordoni attacks Nel, Ichigo uses his Bankai to stop the attack. However, Dordoni requests that Ichigo use his hollow powers to fight him. Ichigo dons his hollow mask and disables Dordoni with a single strike. Nel heals Dordoni with her saliva at Ichigo's request, and Dordoni explains that he had hoped to regain his position as a full Espada by defeating Ichigo at full power. After being completely healed, he attacks Ichigo again. Dordoni is struck down by Ichigo once again, and to thank Ichigo for using his full power against him, Dordoni fights Rudborn Chalute and the Exequias, a group of Arrancars specializing in eliminating intruders to allow Ichigo to retreat. When Sosuke Aizen learns of this, he asks who ordered the Exequias to attack Ichigo, and the Espada Szayelaporro grants takes responsibility. Aizen forgives him, noting that Dordoni's body will help Szayelaporro's research. Meanwhile, Uryu Ishida is battling the Privaran Espada Ciruchi Sanderwichi, and Rukia encounters the Espada Aronniero Arurueri. Aronniero removes his mask, revealing the face of Kaien Shiba, the former lieutenant of the 13th Division that Rukia had killed. Rukia converses with Aronniero and realizes that he is the real Kaien, who states that after he was killed, he was resurrected in Hueco Mundo, where he became one of Aizen's Espadas. Kaien offers Rukia a chance to atone for killing him by allowing him to kill her, and Rukia accepts, with the caveat that she will be allowed to rescue Orihime Inoue. Kaien reveals that he was joking, and instead instructs her to kill all of her friends. Realizing that he is an imposter, Rukia begins to fight Kaien, and Kaien quickly gains the upper hand, as he was the one who taught Rukia how to fight. Rukia continues to struggle against Kaien, and he begins to overpower her when he uses the Shikai of his Zanpakuto. When Kaien disarms her, Rukia attempts to use a Kidō spell, and reveals in the process that Kaien is afraid of the sunlight. Armed with this knowledge, Rukia binds Kaien with Kidō and blasts a hole in the wall. In the sunlight, Kaien's face melts away to reveal a glass case with 2 masks inside. The creature reintroduces himself as Aronniero, and after moving out of the sunlight, assumes Kaien's appearance again. After informing Rukia that he absorbed Kaien's remains when he came to Hueco Mundo, Aronniero releases his Zanpakuto, transforming his lower body into a giant, octopus-like form. Uryu continues to battle with Kiruchi, who blocks all of his attacks with her Zanpakuto. The Arrancar Pesche Guatiche decides to help Uryu, and uses his saliva to cause Kiruchi to trip and land awkwardly on the ground. Incensed, Ciruchi releases her Zanpakuto, referred to as Resurrección, transforming into a giant bird with bladed wings. Unable to counter her abilities with his arrows alone, Uryu pulls one of the tubes from his belt, which produces a powerful energy blade that easily slices through her winged blades. With his energy sword, which he calls Seal Schneider, Uryu is easily able to defend himself against Ciruchi's attacks. In response, Ciruchi sheds her wings and focuses all her power into a single blade on her tail, and Uryu defeats her by shooting his Seal Schneider from his bow into her chest. As Uryu and Pesche leave, Rudborn and the Exequias arrive to kill Ciruchi. Meanwhile, Yasutora Chad Sado is at a disadvantage against the Privaran Espada Gantenbaine Mosqueda. After taking several blows, Chad realizes how to access his full power, transforming his right arm into a giant shield named Brazo Derecho del Gigante. With his full power unleashed, Chad overpowers Gantenbaine, and Gantenbaine releases his Zanpakuto in response. However, Chad reveals that his right arm is intended solely for defense, and transforms his left arm, naming it Brazo Izquierdo del Diablo. With his left arm, Chad overpowers Gantenbane and allows him to live. However, Chad is confronted by the Espada Noitora Gilga, and after Chad fruitlessly attacks Noitora with his left arm, Noitora defeats and seriously wounds Chad with a single attack. Bored with the ease of his victory, Noitora leaves to pursue another intruder. Chad's apparent death is felt by everyone in Hueco Mundo, and when Espada Ulquiorra Schiffer brings dinner to Orihime Inoue, she refuses to believe that Chad has died. Ulquiorra admonishes her, noting that all her friends are doomed to fail because they rushed into battle without realizing the odds they faced. Orihime slaps him and bursts into tears after Ulquiorra leaves. Meanwhile, Renji Abarai and Dondochaka Bilstein encounter Szayelaporro. Renji attempts to use his Bankai, but it shatters instantly, leading Szayelaporro to remark that he designed the room they are in to negate Renji's Bankai. As this is happening, Rukia continues to battle Arrancar, who reveals that he has eaten and obtained the powers of over 33,650 hollows. Overwhelmed by Arrancar's released form, as well as the realization that he possesses Kaien's actual body, Rukia is impaled through the stomach, and her Zanpakuto, Sode no Shirayuki, is broken in the process. She recalls her training with Kaien, in which he told her how a person's heart is passed on to those they are close to. Regaining her resolve, she performs the third dance San no Mai Shirafune, reconstructing her Zanpakuto with ice, and impales Arrancar through the head. As Arrancar dies, Rukia attempts to stand in order to continue her journey to save Orihime, but collapses from her injuries. When Renji asks Szayelaporro how he negated his Bankai, Szayelaporro reveals that he gathered the data using parasites stored in the body of his older brother Ilfort Grants, who Renji fought and defeated. With only his Shikai, Renji's attacks cannot harm Szayelaporro. Meanwhile, Ulquiorra meets Ichigo to inform him of Rukia's death. Ichigo attempts to leave to save Rukia, but Ulquiorra goads him into fighting by revealing that he was the person who forced Orihime to come to Hueco Mundo. Furious, Ichigo prepares to fight Ulquiorra in anger. Even after using his most powerful attacks, Ichigo is overpowered by Ulquiorra. Ichigo, however, refuses to give up, believing Ulquiorra to be the top-ranked Espada. Ulquiorra reveals his 4 tattoo, indicating that he is the 4th Espada, and stabs Ichigo in the chest with his hand. Meanwhile, Orihime is confronted by Loli Ivirne and Manoli Malia, 2 female Arrancar furious because Aizen favors Orihime over them. In Renji's fight with Szayelaporro, Renji is almost killed by Szayelaporro's strongest Fracción Metazepi when he is struck by an arrow from a mysterious person, killing him. The mysterious person mocks Renji for almost being killed before Renji identifies the mysterious person as Uryu. Orihime is rescued from Loli and Manoli by Espada Grimmjow Jaeger-Jacques, who claims he is repaying Orihime for restoring his arm and promptly kills Manoli and injures Loli. He tells Orihime that he needs her help and takes her with him. However, Orihime chose to heal both Loli and Manoli before they leave. Meanwhile, Uryu finds that his arrival was expected by Szayelaporro, and his attacks are useless against both the Espada and his Fracciones. Renji saves Uryu from a fatal blow, and the two prepare to work together to take down Szayelaporro. With Renji's help, Uryu maneuvers Szayelaporro into a trap, catching him in a massive explosion. Although the trap is damaging, it fails to kill Szayelaporro. By eating one of his Fracciones Lumina, Szayelaporro completely heals himself. However, rather than retaliate, he leaves, wanting to replace his damaged clothing. Elsewhere, Grimmjow brings Orihime to Ichigo and asks Orihime to heal Ichigo so he can fight him again. Before she can finish doing so, Ulquiorra arrives. Using a special device, Grimmjow traps Ulquiorra in an alternate dimension and remarks that it will take 2 or 3 hours for Ulquiorra to break free. Orihime finishes healing Ichigo, and Ichigo begins to fight Grimmjow. Even after using his Bankai, Ichigo finds himself outmatched against Grimmjow. However, when Grimmjow fires a Grand Race arrow at Orihime and Nell, Ichigo uses his hollow mask to block the attack. Grimmjow, pleased that Ichigo is fighting with his full power, releases his Zanpakuto. The two continue their fight, and Ichigo is slowly worn down by Grimmjow despite the fact that he is able to use his hollow mask longer than he previously could. Espada tia Halibel and her fracciones, the Tres Bestias, which consists of Emilu Apache, Francesca Mila Rose, and Chayan Songsun, are seen watching the fight and comment during it. Halibel tells them that it is natural that they are afraid of Grimmjow and Ichigo, that it is more like a fight between two Espadas than anything else. Orihime, frightened by Ichigo's appearance due to his hollow mask, is afraid to watch the battle, but after Nell admonishes her, she overcomes her fear and cheers Ichigo on, giving him the resolve to deal a blow across Grimmjow's chest. In a flashback, Grimmjow recalls his time as a Hollow and his history with Xiaolong Kufang, Edorad Leones, Ilfort Grants, Nakim Grindina, and D-Roy Linker, his former fracciones. In the present, Grimmjow, despite being wounded, refuses to give up. He uses his strongest attack on Ichigo, but Ichigo overcomes it and deals a final blow. After leaving Grimmjow on the ground, Ichigo prepares to take Orihime away from Las Noches.